The twin moons of Zalara City hung low over the alien bazaar, casting pale light over streets filled with smoke and noise. Creatures from 100 worlds bargained, shouted, and traded, metal, weapons, slaves, and dreams. Captain Jalen Voss moved through the chaos with tired eyes. His ship, the Silver Dawn, was low on credits and his fuel cells were half dead. He needed rest, a bed, and silence. But in this city, silence cost more than peace. He passed a row of glowing cages, each holding someone different. Some were human, some not. He looked away, but then his eyes caught something. Behind a cracked glass cell sat a woman. Not quite human, not quite alien. Her skin shimmered faintly under the neon lights, a soft silver glow that shifted with her breath. Her eyes were wide and bright violet, but empty, like someone who had stopped hoping long ago. The sign on the cage said, "Companion rental, 5 credits a night." Jalen frowned. He wasn't here for this. He had seen enough cruelty in his travels to know what that meant. But something in her gaze stopped him. She wasn't afraid. She was waiting. He turned away, but then she spoke softly through the glass. "You're human, aren't you?" Jalen froze. Her voice was gentle, trembling. "Please," she said. "Just one night. I promise I won't be trouble." Something inside him twisted. Maybe it was pity. Maybe it was guilt. Or maybe it was the loneliness he had carried across a dozen galaxies. He walked to the merchant, a thick-skinned alien with 4 eyes and a sharp grin. "How much?" Jalen asked. 5 credits, the merchant said. "She's quiet, obedient, and strange enough to make you curious." Jalen's jaw tightened. "One night," the merchant smirked, tapping his device. "Room 17, she'll be sent there." The room was small, metal walls rusted from old leaks. Jalen sat on the edge of the bed, removing his jacket. When the door slid open, the alien woman stepped inside. She looked smaller without the cage around her. She stood perfectly still, hands clasped together. "My name is Rin," she said softly. "Jalen," he replied, keeping his tone flat. Rin looked around as if expecting chains or commands. When she saw none, she slowly sat in the corner of the room. "You don't want anything?" she asked, her voice uncertain. "No," Jalen said. "Just sleep." Rin tilted her head. "Humans are strange. You pay for company but ask for silence." He didn't answer. He lay back on the bed, eyes heavy. For the first time in months, he wasn't alone in the dark. As the night grew quiet, he felt her watching him. Her breathing was steady, almost in rhythm with his. Then, barely above a whisper, he heard her say, "Thank you for not touching me." Jalen opened one eye. "You've met worse travelers?" Her lips trembled. "They never look at me as if I'm real." He didn't know what to say. She turned away and whispered something in a language he didn't know, something soft and sad. The last thing he heard before sleep took him was that same word, repeated like a prayer. Freedom. When dawn came, the light through the cracked ceiling painted her silver skin in gold. Jalen rubbed his eyes. Rin was kneeling beside the bed, silent, her hands glowing faintly. He sat up, alarmed. "What are you doing?" She looked up at him with tears in her eyes. "It's done," she said quietly. "The bond is complete." "What bond?" Jalen asked. She pointed to his wrist. A faint golden mark had appeared there, a symbol he had never seen before, shaped like 2 rings crossing each other. It pulsed once with a soft light, then faded beneath his skin. Jalen pulled his hand back. "What did you do to me?" Rin shook her head. "I didn't choose it. It happens when someone shows mercy. It's part of my people's curse." Her words sent a chill through him. "A curse?" "Yes," she said. "Those who show kindness to my kind become bound. You can feel our pain. You can't harm us, and we can't leave until the bond is broken." Jalen stood up sharply. "That's insane. This is some trick." Rin lowered her head. "It's the law of my blood. You rented me, human, but now you own me." Her voice cracked at the last word. He stared at the mark again, heart pounding. "No, I don't own anyone." Outside, a loud crash shook the street. The merchant's voice echoed through the speaker system. "Human in room 17. Do not leave. The royal fugitive has been found." Rin's eyes widened with terror. She grabbed his arm. "Please, Jalen, don't give me back." Before he could answer, the door slammed open, and a squad of armored aliens filled the doorway. "By order of the Imperial Guard," their leader shouted, raising a weapon. "Step away from the royal slave." Jalen froze. Royal what? Rin's grip tightened on his arm. They can't take me, she whispered. Not again. He looked at her, then at the soldiers. In that 1 second, he made a choice that would change everything. He pulled her behind him, hand on his blaster. You'll have to go through me first. The soldiers raised their weapons, and the mark on his wrist began to glow again, brighter than ever, the air filled with light. The blast outside shook the walls. Dust rained from the ceiling as Jalen pulled Rin behind a metal crate. The soldiers shouted orders in a language he couldn't understand, their armor flashing under the neon lights of the bazaar. Jalen's blaster was half-charged, and he knew fighting an entire squad was suicide. But the look in Rin's eyes kept him from running. She wasn't just scared, she looked like someone who had already been captured too many times. Stay down, he whispered. The door burst open, and a soldier stormed in. Before Jalen could aim, the mark on his wrist flared again, gold and burning. The soldier froze mid-step, clutching his chest as his armor flickered with static. Jalen blinked. What the hell was that? Rin looked at him with awe. The bond protects you. It protects both of us. Anyone who tries to harm one feels the other's strength. He didn't understand, but he wasn't about to argue. He grabbed her hand, and together they ran through the back door into the maze of the lower market. The streets were packed, traders, thieves, beggars, all shouting. He pushed through the crowd, heart racing. Behind them, sirens echoed. When they finally stopped, they were hidden between two buildings smelling of oil and smoke. Jalen leaned against a wall, catching his breath. You need to tell me everything now. Rin looked down at her hands. The faint light from her palms faded as she spoke. My people, we were rulers once. We had power over light, emotion, and energy, but our empire fell. The new rulers, your kind and others, made us slaves. I'm not part of that, Jalen said. I know, she whispered. That's why the bond chose you. Only a human who shows mercy can activate it. He stared at the golden mark again. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat under his skin. So what happens now? She hesitated. As long as it exists, I can't leave you. And if I die, you'll feel my pain. Wonderful, Jalen muttered. I rent a room and end up cursed for life. Despite everything, Rin smiled faintly. You could still break it. If you give me back, he frowned. To that merchant? To the guards who called you a royal slave? Rin looked away, tears glistening in her violet eyes. They'll kill me this time. I ran from them years ago. Jalen's voice softened. Why? What did you do? I refused to obey, she said simply. My people's crown was destroyed, but I carry part of its power. They want it back, he rubbed his temples. So you're telling me the Empire is hunting you, and now because of this mark they're hunting me too? She nodded slowly. He laughed bitterly. Fantastic. Just fantastic. Then he noticed something, a small drone hovering above them, its red eye blinking. Rin gasped. They found us. Without thinking, Jalen drew his blaster and fired. The drone exploded in sparks. Come on, he said, grabbing her wrist again. The two raced toward the old spaceport. He knew one thing. If they could reach his ship, they might have a chance. As they ran, Rin stumbled. He turned to help her, and suddenly felt a stab of pain shoot through his arm. The golden mark flashed, and he saw a brief image in his mind. Rin in chains, a collar glowing on her neck, her screams echoing in a cold chamber. He staggered, gripping his head. What did I just see? Rin's voice trembled. You felt my memory. The bond shares pain and truth. He looked at her differently now, not as a stranger, but as someone who had suffered beyond what he could imagine. When they reached the shipyard gate, the lights turned red. Two armored guards stood blocking the path. One sneered. Humans aren't allowed past midnight, especially ones carrying stolen property. Jalen raised his hands. Listen, I just need passage off-world. No trouble. The guard looked at Rin and laughed. You don't get it, do you? That thing isn't a woman. That's the lost daughter of the Lathar dynasty. Rin froze. Jalen turned to her. Is that true? She didn't answer, only whispered, Please just run. The guards raised their rifles. Jalen didn't think. He fired first. A blinding flash filled the air, and Rin screamed as the mark on both their wrists burst with light. The energy wave knocked the guards off their feet and shattered nearby glass. Jalen felt the heat burn through his veins, but Rin's hand steadied him. As smoke filled the air, they slipped through the broken gate toward his ship. He didn't know what she really was or what this bond meant, but one thing was clear now. She wasn't just a stranger. She was a storm waiting to be unleashed. The spaceport alarms wailed like wounded beasts. Red lights flashed over the steel hangars as Jalen and Rin ran toward the Silver Dawn. Steam hissed from vents and guards shouted through the smoke. Rin's breath came quick and shallow. The golden mark on her wrist glowed brighter with each step, pulsing in rhythm with Jalen's. They could both feel it, the strange pull that bound them together. "Get inside," Jalen shouted, pressing the ship's hatch panel. The door hissed open and they stumbled in. Inside, the ship's lights flickered to life, showing the worn walls of a vessel that had seen too many wars. Jalen slammed the control pad. "Hold on," he yelled. Engines roared. The ship lurched upward just as energy bolts blasted past the window. Rin gripped the chair. "They'll shoot us down." "Not if I get us to the upper orbit," Jalen growled, pushing the throttle forward. The ship screamed through the storm of light. Through the viewport, Rin watched the city shrink into a maze of neon and smoke. Her eyes glistened, not from fear, but from memory. Jalen glanced at her. "Who are you really, Rin?" She didn't answer right away. Then with a soft voice she said, "You deserve the truth. I am Rinale, last daughter of the Lethar royal line. My people once ruled 5 star systems, but when my mother died, our armies fell and the council sold us to the highest bidder." Jalen frowned. "So you're a princess?" Rin gave a bitter smile. "Was. A princess who couldn't save her world." The ship shook violently as another blast hit the hull. Warning lights blinked red. "Shields down to 40%, the onboard AI announced in a cold voice. Jalen cursed. "Hold tight." He spun the controls, diving through a cloud of space debris. The ship scraped against metal fragments, sparks flying across the cockpit. Suddenly, Rin's hands began to glow again, soft silver light flowing between her fingers. "Don't," Jalen shouted. "Whatever you're doing." But she closed her eyes, whispering in her native tongue. A shockwave of light spread from her palms and surrounded the ship. The engine stopped groaning. The alarms went silent. Jalen looked at the sensors. The enemy crafts had vanished from radar. He turned to her, stunned. "What did you just do?" Her eyes fluttered open. "I bent the light around us. They can't see us for a while, but it drains me." She collapsed into the seat, trembling. Jalen knelt beside her. "Hey, stay with me." Her voice was faint. "My power comes from emotion and pain. I haven't used it since the day I escaped." He handed her a flask of water. "Here, drink." Rin smiled weakly. "You're kind for a human," he smirked. Don't get used to it, but deep down he felt something shift. She wasn't just another mission anymore. She was someone worth protecting. Hours later, the Silver Dawn drifted silently through a quiet sector. A forgotten moon hanging in the distance. Its surface was pale blue, glowing faintly in the dark. Jalen guided the ship down. "We'll rest here until I can fix the shields." The landing was rough, but the silence afterward felt like peace. They stepped out into soft mist. The ground shimmered faintly under their boots. The air was clean, too clean for a dead world. Rin looked around, wonder filling her voice. "This place, it's ancient. My people once hid our temples here." "Perfect," Jalen said. "A royal hideout." "Just what I needed," she smiled faintly. "You joke, but this world still remembers us. The ground hums when I walk." Indeed, with every step she took, faint lines of light appeared beneath her feet, like the planet itself recognized her. Jalen felt uneasy. "We should stay quiet. They might track us by energy signature." Rin stopped and turned to him. "Jalen, why did you help me? You could have handed me over and walked away rich." He looked at her, the golden mark flickering faintly between them. "Maybe I'm tired of walking away." She said nothing, only smiled with tears in her eyes, but before peace could settle, the ship's comm system crackled. A distorted voice spoke. "Captain Voss, we know who you're hiding. 5 million credits for the girl. Deliver her alive and or we take you both." Jalen cursed softly. "They tracked us." Rin's hand gripped his arm. "They won't stop. Not until I'm back in chains." He met her eyes. "Then we make sure they never find you again." The two turned toward the misty horizon where faint shadows moved between the glowing trees. Bounty hunters already landing. Jalen raised his weapon. Rin's hands began to shine once more. For the first time, they stood side by side, not master and slave, but equals bound by fate. The moon was silent except for the hum of the ship's engines cooling down. Mist curled across the valley, glowing softly under the light of distant stars. Jalen and Rin stood near a ridge watching the horizon where faint blue crystals jutted from the ground like frozen fire. They had been running for days. Now at last there was nowhere else to go. Rin's silver skin reflected the starlight. Her hand still trembled from the last burst of power she had used to hide them. "They'll come," she whispered. "They always do." Jalen adjusted the grip on his blaster. "Let them. I've had worse guests." Despite his calm words, his heart was pounding. He could feel her fear through the strange golden bond that tied them. Every time she winced, a faint ache sparked in his chest. It wasn't just a mark anymore, it was a connection. He turned back toward the ship, pulling a toolkit from the cargo bay. "If I can fix the signal scrambler, maybe they won't track us." Rin followed him quietly. Inside, the ship smelled of metal, oil, and burnt circuits. Jalen bent over the console, sparks flying as he rewired the system. "You could have left me," she said softly. "At the docks. Before all this started." Jalen didn't look up. "Yeah, well, guess I'm bad at making smart choices." Her lips curved slightly. "Or maybe you're good at making the right ones." He looked up then. For a moment, the silence between them felt heavy but not uncomfortable, like two souls who had already said everything that mattered. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped. Jalen's eyes snapped to the screen. 3 ships entering orbit. Rin stepped forward. "Hunters," he cursed under his breath. "How many?" "Enough," she said. "They never come alone." He grabbed his rifle. "Then we make this ground our advantage." "You said this place remembers your people. Use that." Rin hesitated. "It's dangerous. I can't control what the planet will awaken." "Then don't control it," Jalen said. "Let it protect you." Outside, the wind began to rise. The mist thickened, swirling around them like living smoke. The ground pulsed faintly under Rin's feet, the same light patterns from before, brighter now, spreading out like veins of gold. The bounty hunters landed nearby, black-armored figures stepping through the fog. Their visors glowed red, weapons ready. "Rin Ale of Lothar," one shouted. "Surrender and the human lives," Jalen muttered. "They really think I'll trade you for my life?" Rin stepped beside him. "You shouldn't die for me, Jalen." He smiled faintly. "Then don't let me." Before the hunters could fire, Rin raised her hands. The ground trembled. Crystals rose like spears from the soil, scattering light everywhere. A shock wave rolled through the valley, knocking half the hunters off their feet. Jalen fired between bursts of light, hitting one drone mid-air. Another blast came from behind and he ducked, rolled, and fired again. Through the chaos, he saw Rin standing in the center of the storm she had created. Her eyes glowed white, hair lifted by invisible wind. Energy streamed from her palms into the earth, awakening more of the planet's power. But Jalen could see the pain in her face. Every pulse of light drained her. He ran toward her. "Rin, stop, you'll burn yourself out." She looked at him through the glow. "If I stop, they'll take you too." Before he could reach her, the mark on his wrist flared. He felt her agony rush into him, burning, blinding. He fell to his knees, gasping. Through the pain, he shouted, "You're not alone in this. Let me help." Rin blinked, tears shining through the light. "Then take it. Take part of the bond." She pressed her glowing hand to his chest. A surge of warmth spread through him. Not pain, not energy, but emotion. For a heartbeat, he saw her memories flash before his eyes. Her mother's voice, the fall of her city, the chains, the auction cages, the endless nights of silence. He saw it all. And when the light faded, the valley was still. The bounty hunters were gone, turned to ash or vanished in the planet's mist. Rin collapsed. Jalen caught her before she hit the ground. Her body was cold, her pulse faint. "Hey," he said softly, shaking her shoulder. "You did it. You're safe now." She opened her eyes weakly. "No one is safe. The bond grows stronger. They'll sense it. Then we'll keep running," he said firmly. "But not as fugitives, as equals." Her faint smile was enough to make the stars seem closer. "You sound like one of my people." Jalen looked out at the glowing horizon. "Maybe I am now." As the first light of dawn broke over the misty world, the two figures stood together. A soldier and a fallen princess, bound by something far greater than fate. The morning sky of the hidden moon was painted in silver and blue. Mist still rolled across the plains, glowing softly where the crystals had burst from the ground during the night's battle. Jalen sat near the ship's ramp, cleaning his blaster in silence. He hadn't slept. Rin was awake too, sitting beside him with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. Her eyes stared at the horizon, distant and quiet. The golden bond mark on both their wrists glowed faintly in the light. They hadn't spoken much since the fight. The air between them was heavy, not with anger but with unspoken fear. Finally, Jalen broke the silence. "You said they'll feel the bond if it grows stronger." "What does that mean?" Rin turned her head slightly. "My people's power runs through emotion. Every act of trust, every moment of care strengthens it. The Empire uses that to track us. They can sense it like heat in the dark. So the more I care, the more danger we're in," Jalen said, half joking, half serious. Rin gave a faint, sad smile. "Yes, your kindness is a beacon," he sighed. "Great. I'm being hunted for having feelings." She laughed softly, and for the first time the sound wasn't filled with sadness. "You sound human again." Jalen looked at her, really looked at her. The way the early light touched her silver skin, the calm in her eyes even after everything. She wasn't a slave, not anymore. She was something far stronger. Then the ship's alarm broke the moment. A faint beep echoed from the cockpit. Jalen stood quickly. "They found us again." Rin followed him inside. On the screen, 3 signals blinked in the sky above, ships moving fast. "They'll be here in an hour," Jalen said. Rin stepped closer. "You have to go alone," he turned sharply. "Not happening." "You can't save me, Jalen," she said softly. "If they capture me, the bond will pull you in. You'll die with me. I won't let that happen." He crossed his arms. "And if I leave, what happens to you?" Rin's voice trembled. "Then I'll face them alone. Maybe I can end it. Maybe if I surrender, they'll stop hunting you." Jalen stared at her in disbelief. "You think I'd just walk away after everything?" Her eyes filled with tears. "That's why I have to make the choice for you." Before he could respond, she turned and ran out of the ship. The door hissed shut behind her. "Rin," he shouted, slamming his hand on the console. But she was already gone, moving toward the glowing valley where the old temple ruins shimmered in the mist. He found her there minutes later. The ruins stood like broken fingers reaching for the sky. Rin stood at the center, her hands glowing faintly as she whispered in her language. The air around her pulsed with energy. "Rin, stop this," Jalen said, stepping forward. She didn't turn. "I'm calling the bond's end. When it breaks, you'll be free." He shook his head. "You'll die." She smiled faintly. "Better me than both of us." Jalen stepped closer, shouting over the rising hum. "You don't get to decide that alone. You think I saved you out of pity? You think I stayed because I felt guilty?" She looked at him then, tears shining through the light. "I stayed," he said, voice breaking, "because I wanted to. Because you made me remember what it means to fight for something worth dying for." The light around her flickered. The temple's walls trembled. "Jalen," she whispered, "if I stop now, they'll come." "Then let them," he said, walking into the storm of light. "We'll face them together." Rin's hands shook as she reached for him. "You'll share my pain." "Then I'll share it," he said. Every bit. The energy exploded between them, blinding gold that filled the valley. Crystals cracked and the sky lit up like dawn. The bond mark burned on their wrists, brighter than ever, not breaking, merging. When the light faded, they both stood trembling but alive. The temple's glow calmed, and the golden mark settled into a new shape. 2 circles intertwined, solid and eternal. Rin looked at it in disbelief. "It didn't break." Jalen smiled faintly. "Maybe it wasn't meant to." She laughed through tears falling against his chest. "You're insane, human." He wrapped his arms around her. "So are you, princess." High above them, the hunters' ships appeared through the clouds, 3 dark shadows closing in fast. Rin lifted her head. "They're here." Jalen looked into her eyes. "Then we make our stand." The bond pulsed once more, golden light spreading between them like fire ready to burn the sky. The sky burned red as the 3 hunter ships descended through the clouds. Dust swirled around the ancient ruins and the air trembled with the hum of their engines. Rin stood beside Jalen at the center of the temple, her silver skin glowing softly in the rising heat. They both knew this was the end, or the beginning of something far greater. Jalen adjusted the grip on his blaster. 3 ships, maybe 20 men. They won't stop till they've got you in chains again. Rin's eyes flashed with defiance. Then they'll have to chain me to the stars. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. The bond mark on both their wrists glowed faintly as if waiting for their decision. Jalen, she whispered, you can still run. If you leave now, you might live. He looked at her, jaw tight. I didn't come this far to run. Above them, the ships opened fire. Energy bolts tore across the valley, exploding near the temple walls. Jalen pushed Rin behind a pillar as shards of stone rained down. He returned fire, hitting one drone that flew overhead. Another blast struck near his leg, throwing him to the ground. Pain shot up his side, and Rin cried out at the same moment, feeling it through the bond. Stop, she shouted, kneeling beside him. You're hurt. He gritted his teeth. Doesn't matter. Keep fighting. Rin's eyes glowed white now. She raised her hands and a wave of energy rippled across the ground, knocking several soldiers off balance. But more kept coming, armored, ruthless, and silent. A massive figure stepped out from one of the ships. His armor gleamed dark purple, marked with the sigil of the Empire. Rin Ale of Lethar, he called, his voice echoing through a helmet amplifier. By the order of the High Council, surrender your power or witness the death of your bonded human. Jalen forced himself up, coughing blood. He'll have to kill me first. The commander raised his weapon. Gladly. Before he could fire, Rin stepped forward. Her eyes blazed brighter than ever. No, she screamed, and light exploded from her body. The world turned white. When the glow faded, the soldiers were on their knees, blinded. The commander's armor sparked, his weapon melted. Rin stood in the middle of the chaos, energy streaming around her like fire made of stars. Jalen stared in awe, but he could feel her pain through the bond, burning in his veins. Her power was tearing her apart. Rin, stop, he shouted. You'll kill yourself. She turned to him, her face full of light and sorrow. This is the only way. I can't let them take me again. Jalen stumbled forward, fighting against the heat and wind. You don't have to die for freedom. She smiled weakly. Freedom always costs something, Jalen. My mother taught me that. Her body began to rise off the ground, floating as the energy built around her. The mark on their wrists pulsed wildly, connecting their souls tighter than ever before. Jalen reached out his hand. If you go, I go too. The bond flared, and for an instant their thoughts merged. She saw his memories, the lonely journeys through space, the battles, the guilt, the nights he wished he'd never survived. And he saw hers, the cages, the fire, the endless silence of being treated as less than alive. Their emotions collided into one truth. Neither of them wanted to be alone anymore. Rin, Jalen whispered, voice shaking, I bought your freedom with my heart. Don't throw it away. Her tears turned into streaks of light as she slowly lowered herself. The storm of power around her faded to a soft glow. The commander tried to stand again, but Jalen fired one last shot, hitting the power cell on the man's chest. The explosion threw him backward, ending the fight. Silence fell. The battlefield was littered with smoke and broken armor. The hunters' ships burned in the distance, casting orange light over the ruins. Rin fell to her knees, exhausted. Jalen limped toward her, catching her before she collapsed. Her head rested against his shoulder, her voice barely a whisper. You should have let me go. He smiled weakly. Not a chance. You're stuck with me now. She laughed softly through her tears. You humans. Always so stubborn. He brushed a strand of silver hair from her face. Maybe that's why we survive. As the first stars began to appear above them, Rin looked at him, her violet eyes shining. You didn't just save me, Jalen, you saved my soul. He didn't answer. He just held her close as the night wrapped around them both, two broken souls who had paid the price for freedom and found something greater in return. Smoke still rose from the battlefield. The ruins of the old temple stood like broken bones under the pale moonlight. The air smelled of dust, metal, and burned ozone. Jalen sat beside Rin near the cracked altar, holding her hand as the golden glow on their wrists slowly dimmed. For the first time since they met, the galaxy was quiet. No alarms, no hunters, just silence. Rin's breathing was weak but steady. It's over, she whispered. Jalen looked at the horizon where the fires faded into darkness. For now, he said softly. They'll send more, she smiled faintly. Let them. I'm tired of running. He stared at her, the strange mix of strength and fragility that made her unlike anyone he'd ever known. Her silver hair was tangled, her skin marked with light scars that shimmered faintly under the starlight. She had fought for freedom, and somehow he had become part of that fight. He looked down at their joined hands. The bond mark had changed again. No longer two separate rings, it was one fused into an eternal circle. What does that mean? He asked quietly. Rin met his eyes. It means the bond can't be undone. Not by blood, not by time. We're linked. Forever. Jalen blinked. Forever's a long time, she gave a small laugh. Humans always measure forever like it ends. He smiled at that. And your kind doesn't? She shook her head gently. For us, forever is just another word for belonging. They rested through the night, wrapped in the calm hum of the planet's energy. When the first light of dawn touched the sky, Jalen began repairing the ship. His hands were cut and burned, but he worked anyway. Rin sat nearby, watching quietly. You don't have to fix everything, she said softly. He smirked. You don't know me well enough yet. I think I do, she said, her voice calm. You fix things because you can't fix yourself. Jalen paused, looking up at her. Maybe you're right. But some things don't need fixing. They just need someone to believe in them. She tilted her head. And do you believe in me, human? He set down his tool and met her gaze. I do. The words hung between them, simple, human, and heavy with meaning. By noon, the ship was ready. Jalen helped Rin aboard, careful not to strain her weakened body. The moment the engines powered on, she touched the control panel and whispered a phrase in her language. The ship's systems glowed gold instead of blue. What did you do? He asked. She smiled softly. I gave her life. Now she's part of the bond too. The silver dawn lifted slowly from the ground, rising through the mist. Below them, the temple faded into tiny specks of light, the graves of her ancestors and the symbol of everything they had survived. As the ship reached the edge of the atmosphere, Jalen glanced at her. Where to now, princess? Rin looked out the window at the endless stars. There's a place beyond the border worlds and quiet, untouched. A world where no one cares about bloodlines or bonds. We could go there? He grinned. We? She turned to him, her eyes full of warmth. You bought my freedom with your heart, remember? That means you're stuck with me. He laughed quietly. Guess I can live with that. She leaned closer, whispering, then it settled. Wherever we go next, we go together. As the stars stretched into streaks of light, the ship jumped into hyperspace. Rin rested her head on Jalen's shoulder. The golden glow from their wrists spread faintly through the cockpit, a reminder of everything they had endured. Outside, the galaxy shone wide and endless. Inside, two souls who had nothing left to lose finally found something worth keeping. Jalen closed his eyes, feeling her heartbeat through the bond. You're free now, he said softly. Rin smiled, her voice barely a whisper. No, Jalen, we both are. The silver dawn vanished into the light, carrying a human and his alien forever across the stars.